live?
We live. Yo, 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 yo. This is another episode of the Weekend Ron. This is your boy Prime, aka Ron, aka RKY. This is Leroy Green. We're in the building on a Saturday night this week. We kind of switched it up. And we've been going Sundays for the last few. So we decided, let's go back to our regularly scheduled program. But shout out to everybody. Everybody, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Take us to where we need to go to 100,000 subscribers so we can have the biggest, most innovative festival in all the land. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you, man. But what's good with you, Leroy? How's the weekend there, brother?
I'm good, man. Weekend's been great so far, man. Just, chillaxing, listening to music. I have been running around, had to do some shopping a little bit earlier. So, had to spend some time at the mall. But other than that, man, I'm chilling for the most part. Speaking of these festivals, man, I woke up this morning, got online, I seen Mike. He had to play the music. He had somebody, rapping on there, submit music. So artists, man, send some music. And I've been telling artists too, like, send some music or hit me or leave a comment. Tell me to check out your music. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? I know what it's like to be an artist and want your music to get out there. Hit us, you know what I mean? Because if we hear something dope, we gonna holler at you. And even if you just working on stuff, I may still holler at you anyway. There's other stuff going on. I don't know where you're from. You could be in a city where I know something is going on, or I know producers or cameramen or publicists or stuff like that. I'll do whatever I can do to help anybody who is on this artistic journey. So that's real, man.
No doubt, no doubt. Make sure to send us music at info@accordingtohiphop.com. Again, that's info@accordingtohiphop.com. Let us know where you coming from, and we want to hear different sounds. We want to see people come up in the game. Mike D had a good segment that he did today, and we're going to keep that going. So shout out to Mike D on the segment. Shout out to the artists that are tapping in with us, man. And it's a good situation, man. But hey, somebody said, "What's up with the Baphomet picture of M? You guys are better than that." Well, I didn't take the photo, and I didn't pose for the photo, so we didn't do any of that. So that's just a photo that he took, that he's used. I mean,
I was born. I'm born in April, so I was born a Taurus. So I was born with the horn sign, with the bull sign. So I was born into that. So what am I supposed to do about that?
So, and the picture was not, again, we didn't take it, we didn't use it. I mean, we didn't tell him to take that photo. He chose to take that. So you might need to ask him if he is better than the picture that you're saying. But anyway, before we get into that,
just real quick before you go off, I talked to Ron about M's involvement in politics. So that's where M came from. Now, because you guys know, I talk about a bunch of stuff at the same time, and that could work against me. Again, there's some stuff coming out about the journalists and hip hop and journalists. I'm not a journalist, but I would like to be one. So you're watching me going through the growing pains of learning how to be one on camera. So you're seeing my mistakes, you're seeing my strong points, you're seeing what I'm able to do. Now, with the M thing, I spoke about his involvement in politics, and earlier on Wallow's channel, I left a comment. I was saying hip hop needs to detach from the streets. The counter argument was hip hop is from the streets. I would like to counter that argument by saying hip hop is not from the streets.
All right, let's. I see where you're going. Let's ease into that real quick. Before we get into the show, we gotta say a moment of silence and rest in peace to DJ Clark Kent, who unfortunately transitioned to this weekend or earlier this week after a personal health battle. I had D Nice. I had the privilege of hearing him spin a couple years ago at Club Quarantine. So I had an opportunity to hear that and kind of see that. So it was a good experience, man. He did a couple joints on Reasonable Doubt. He worked with Junior Mafia, Foxy Brown, Biggie. He was a legend in the game.
No
Hold
doubt.
on, but yes, you got anything you want to say about
No, rest in
Clark?
peace. Rest in peace. DJ Clark Kent. I found out something was going on with him out of watching YouTube, and Dame Dash was talking about it. So that's when I knew, something was going on. Um, DJing, that's an element, but as
Shit.
far as like his
Give me one
involvement,
second. Let me tell him
I know.
I need to do
Hold on.
that.
I know in his involvement in the early Rockefeller days, he had a lot to do with that. And just as far as like convincing Jay to take this rap thing serious, I know he played a large part in doing that. You know what I mean? So not to make it just about Jay, it's a lot of things he did. But without Clark Kent, who's to say that Jay may have said, nah, I'm gonna stick with the streets? I mean, you never know. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something that crossed my mind with him. But again, when it comes to just the art of DJs, you know what I mean? That's an element that is near and dear to my heart. I'm not a DJ, but I recognize the art form and the skill in it. So
Right. But man, I want to come back to Clark Kent, but I gotta grab something really quick for like 5 seconds. So before let's segue, I want to say RIP to Clark Kent and to his legacy. Shout out to his family and his imprint that he put on hip hop. But let's segue into the next topic. Why is Eminem on the thumbnail? Kind of cue him up and tell him, cue him up, Leroy, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was gonna save that. That's for a larger part, but we could start now, right? So Eminem was he came out and he introduced Obama.
I got it.
Right. And Ron, mute yourself over there.
Oh, you grab that one. Switch with him.
So Eminem was he brought out Obama in Detroit. So when it comes to politics, I understand that there are some people that thinks that hip hop should play the sideline in politics. I tend to disagree with that. So whether people agree with the move, don't agree with the move, I think that we should be involved. I think that anything that happens in America, right, that hip hop should be involved. I don't think that we should take a stance to like, okay, well, that's politics, so I'm not gonna get involved in that. Because the point I'm gonna make tonight is when I say hip hop should detach itself from the streets, and people saying that, well, hip hop comes from the streets, I'm going to present an argument to show you how politics played a lot to do in the creation of hip hop, whereas the hip hop was a response to politics. So that's why I'm making the argument that we should be involved. Because I know some people, they say, well, everybody in politics is against us. I don't believe that to be true, but I can understand where that point is coming from. However, though, let's say in politics, right? Let's say things were to go our way, meaning hip hop gets involved in politics and we present a plan or an agenda and it goes our way. Best case scenario, right? We get the best case scenario. Well, without a strong involvement or foundation in the politics, even if things go our way, we're not gonna get nothing for it. That's even if the people in the White House or in Washington agree with us, because they're gonna say, well, hip hop is not involved anyway. So we may as well keep the budget, because this is what happens. They'll set aside a budget for an agenda like something that potentially will come out of hip hop, and they'll say because hip hop is not involved, well, we'll just keep the budget anyway because hip hop's not involved. That's their mentality, right? So I think hip hop should be involved. So because again, when we think politics, I know we think on a national level. We think just the presidency. But there are other levels underneath the presidency that are also important. So, I'm not really, I don't care which side of the fence that you want to champion for. I just think we should be involved. You know what I mean? So that was my major point with, talking to you about Eminem earlier with Obama and other stuff.
Right. So I got a couple questions that come from this situation, right? Okay. Number one, is an endorsement by Eminem in 2024 even relevant? I mean, does any celebrity endorsement really move the needle in this day and age? Taylor
I think
Swift,
so.
made an announcement a couple of weeks ago. I think Bruce Springsteen was here in Atlanta with Obama and Vice President Harris. Does it move the needle? And then, President Obama did Lose Yourself, the verse. I mean, is that really going to take a voter that's undecided and tip them over the fence? And the third question I have is that people always talk about, misogyny and lyrics and equality.
Yep.
Is Eminem the right person to kind of galvanize the crowd, right? Because he has some of the most, some would say, reprehensible lyrics against women of all time. So, I don't know.
Well, the guy behind me has a lot of crazy lyrics too, but I would say that we know how to discern between somebody who is using shock value rhymes versus somebody who's saying, look, I think, Obama is an intelligent person. Now, and I think maybe that's all he's saying with that. Now, if people want to say he's saying more than that, well, that's okay too. You know what I mean? I'm not shooting down anybody's arguments. As far as his pull on, does his involvement sway the needle or move anything? I think it does. I would like to say it doesn't in a world where we just read policy and go off what the words say on policy. But I know that's not the world we live in. A lot of people out there, whether you want to admit to it or not, you do take cues from entertainment. When you see Beyonce standing next to Kamala Harris, Beyonce does may sway a lot of people. We're just going to be honest, because you're not reading the bills. Because if you were reading the bills, we'd have different conversations, and I don't see those conversations being had. You know what I mean? So I think, Eminem, he holds weight. Now, I applaud him because he's drawing a line in the sand in his own fan base, meaning his own fan base is going to turn against him. A lot of them, at least, a good portion of them. And he's saying, well, I'm gonna stand on what I stand on, even if that means I feel some negative effects. I applaud that. You know what I mean? I think all of us really, we do have an opinion, and we kind of silence our opinion on politics. I'm also going to talk about when opinions go wrong, when they go too far later. But we silence our political opinion because we don't want people to turn against us or feel a way against us. But if you have, I think in the long run, as far as hip hop's involvement, I think we should have an opinion. I think the stance of having no opinion, I think that works against us. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it seems like Detroit is divided because Detroit's own Trick had a different endorsement, and this is Trick at another rally this week. So maybe I don't know who's gonna have the sway in Michigan, right? Is it gonna be Eminem or is it gonna be Trick, or does it even matter? So I thought that was fun.
Now Trick. Someone educate me. I know who Trick is. I know his influence on the game. Why does this person have so much influence? Educate me.
What do you mean?
Anybody out there? Why from my understanding is Trick's influence over hip hop is because he's a street guy. Am I correct in saying that, or am I missing something?
That's what it could be interpreted as ties to the street,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to know, in 2024, about to be 25, what does the streets offer hip hop that we can gain anything from? Just in a larger note for tonight.
Well,
what can the streets offer hip hop that's good for us?
I'm not from the streets, but I'm from the, I know the streets. I know people that are of the streets. There's always been a mix, the streets. And shout out to my brother Tariq Nasheed. He had a show the other day. He said, historically within our community, there was the squares and there was the streets, right? You know what I'm saying? And the streets, they fed off one another, right? So the streets kind of was the enforcement or the protected people that were doing positive things. So you had your street cats, No, I'm not saying all.
Are those the squares or the streets?
No, you had the street cats that were operating in the streets.
Okay.
That were the muscle or the kind of some of the funding to propel people that were in the professional world to do certain things. It's always been a mutual respect of the streets, the professional class. And that's how it's always been. And I think over time there's been an attempt to kind of separate those worlds apart. But there's always been, you always had a cousin or you had an uncle or you knew somebody or a friend that was part of that element. You might not have been a part of that element. So I think you say in 2024, I think it's always going to be a mix within our community of people that's in the streets and people that's in the community doing other things. You know what I'm saying?
Is the mix propelling our culture forward or pulling our culture down?
Well, that's I mean,
because in my personal opinion, I don't think the streets is good for nothing. When I go hang in the streets, right? Well, I mean, we know what we're talking about when I say the streets. I'm looking around, and I don't see nothing that the streets can offer me that would help me do nothing. Now, that's my personal opinion. So if I'm thinking from a hip hop lens, and hip hop is in the streets, and hip hop is looking around, what can the streets offer this culture that is helping us do anything?
Well, you could argue that a lot of Reasonable Doubt in a lot of Jay-Z's earlier lyrics was
in '96, yes,
was informed by the streets. So
in '96,
without street records, without people that made street music, that element of hip hop would have been removed from the culture.
Yes.
Some could argue that's either positive or negative. I think it had some positive effect because there's an argument that some of these tales, maybe the record labels kind of commodified it and they kind of commercialized it, sensationalized it. But there's some people, some hip hop artists saying that, they gave voice to the streets. So it was a good outlet for people to get out of it, to change their situation. So again, I think historically it's always gone hand in hand. I have some people taking it too far. Has it been, glamorized and glorified to a negative effect? Has it had negative effects in the community? You could say yes, but it's also had some positives.
Okay. Now, I don't know what the positives are. Now, if someone could tell me that, okay. I've been in hip hop all my life. I don't know what the positives of the streets are. Now, I could guess or assume or add on opinions, but I don't know. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up, people, is because we started thinking of an agenda, which is why I brought up Eminem, right? At first, Eminem bringing out Obama, and then and now I'm segueing into the Lil Durk situation. So this is why I'm bringing up the streets. Now, when I'm in the streets, what I hear, and not just in the streets, I'm talking about online too. I'm hearing, well, this is just how the streets do. This is what it is. Is it what it is? Since we have a choice, right? Everybody, we go out in the world, we have a choice. I remember as a young adult, I had a choice. I don't know about everybody else, but there was people that was involved in street activity, right? And there were people that were not. I had a choice on what I wanted to do to, get some paper, right? Get some money. I could either do it in a legal way or I could go another route, in the street route. So I made a choice. Now, if we're saying that there's not a choice in it, I don't know. I think there's a choice to be had here. I'm not particularly happy about the Dirk situation, but I see youngins like, well, that's just how it goes down. This is just normal for them. And I'm like, is it really normal? Because, I mean, if I was in a position, and I'm not dissing, if I was in a position of making millions of dollars and I take care of my family, I take care of my extended family, I take care of my friends, I take care of my friends' children, I would think twice about how involved I get on the street level. That's me. I'm just saying. And that, again, that's not a diss, because I'm speaking to a larger culture amongst our culture. So, I just wanted to ask. I'm not going to turn this into a big old preaching thing, But I just wanted to, in 2025, we're going into 2025. Is there anything that the streets offers hip hop that's something we could use for a positive? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you have
You
to
know,
ask 38 Special. You'd have to ask Benny the Butcher, people that make
I would.
street music.
I'm not afraid of that.
You have to ask them. The streets inform their music. So
Yeah, the
without the
streets
streets in
help them
2024,
personally.
2025, what would
Yeah.
they be rapping about? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for the
If that's
streets.
again, if you want the streets, then you deserve what the streets bring. So if you want to be about that, then you cannot cry about what that comes with, because so it's like, yes, our music informs certain things, but Benny the Butcher's from my era. We didn't quite know better. 38 Specials from my era. We didn't quite know better. Now we knew better, but what I mean is when we saw people with a certain level of money and clout, we thought, okay, maybe the streets is a viable option, because we really didn't know better. I mean, I know that may sound like a stupid thing to say, right? But we thought, like, yeah, like, no, we're gonna pull this off and get our bread, like, you know what I mean? But now this generation, they have seen what the streets offer. You know what I mean? They 9 times out of 10, they see it go bad. So they kind of know better. Like our generation, we grew up watching Scarface. We're thinking Scarface is real. Like, oh man, Scarface. So, and it was just a number of circumstances. But now these kids, they kind of know that there are different options than the streets. So if in 2025, if we're still choosing the streets, I'm questioning whether we're suffering from some kind of mental situation, because I don't know why we would still be choosing that. And yes, I understand that hip hop comes from the streets. Let me just go into a same argument but a different. I believe that hip hop came out of a political situation in the South Bronx, into which where it was overcrowded, underfunded, there was abandoned buildings, there was an expressway that was supposed to be built running through the Bronx, into which a community that was redlined. Redlining means any neighborhood that's over 10% black, you are not eligible for home loans, or you are less eligible. You're not getting fire insurance in your homes. So the on your homes. So these are certain circumstances that are set up politically, right? So in 72, the Bronx undergoes multiple fires. We're talking about, I mean, whole areas. We're talking about like 40 fires a day that the fire department is having to fight. This is going into neighborhoods to which they do not have the fire insurance, and the community services were gutted by the political class of that time. So what happens is you're having neighborhoods burned down. So the instruments are burned, the dance halls are burned, the schools are burned, the community centers are burned down. I believe hip hop emerged from those ashes. So I don't believe hip hop comes from the streets anymore. Now I know what we mean when we say that, and I've heard that all my life. But in doing my research, I'm saying hip hop comes from a different circumstance.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. That's an interesting perspective.
I mean,
But
you know what I'm saying?
we're gonna segue. We're gonna use that to segue into Durk. But let me
Yeah.
ask you this: what's your gut feeling right now about how this election is gonna go? Or is Eminem, is candidate gonna prevail in Michigan, or will it be Trick? Which way is it gonna go? Which way is it gonna go?
Well, it's hard to say. You know what I mean? Right now, I think that the Democrats are holding a lot of chips in their hand. I think Kamala is holding a lot of power, but it's no way to know until you actually know, until the votes come through. Because again, Trump is still Trump. He still got his supporters. I mean, that never went nowhere. So I
He got a
mean,
big event in Madison Square Garden tomorrow, man. He gonna be at the
yeah,
Garden, man.
that never went nowhere. The reason why I posed the question, should we be involved, is exactly what I was saying like at the beginning. Let's say things go our way, right? You could say it's either Trump or Kamala. Pick whichever one you want to pick. Let's pretend that they're in office, no matter who you pick, right? And let's say they get up there and they say, "Okay, Black America, we're gonna give you what you want. Everything you've been asking for, everything you've been dreaming, every circumstance you've ever wanted. Here, you have it." Do we know what to do with that? Is my larger question. Being that we haven't been involved or we've been silent in hip hop. When I was growing up, hip hop was very vocal about politics. This generation, not so much. So let's say they give you what you want. Here, Black America, here's the bag. Take it. Do we know what to do with the bag? Now that's a different question, because with the bag comes responsibility. So what are we gonna do with the bag, y'all? Are we gonna buy things that look nice? I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think we should probably buy schools, hospitals, manufacturing plants. So are we prepared for the hard decisions? Because buying those things ain't gonna be cute. You ain't gonna look nice. You ain't gonna have the fly car. You ain't gonna have the jewelry. You ain't gonna have the night. You're gonna have to make some real choices, Black America.
Well, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I don't, like I said, I don't have a.
Yeah.
I think everyone's opinions themselves. I'm not gonna use this platform to say what I think, but I think it's gonna be a close race.
Yeah.
I'm hearing leanings that it can go either way. I'm seeing some movement in the market. I'm seeing some movement in the market leaning toward a particular direction. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think we're almost at, I think I almost am certain where I am, where I think it's going to go.
Okay.
I think it's going to be, a different type of situation, but we'll see. We'll stay in tune. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing one of those election night shows, man. Should we do, hey, everybody in the chat, should we do like one of those, should I get like one of them TVs and like get a map and we like have a core and hip hop election night special? What y'all think? Let us know in the chat if you want us to do an election night special, kind of like we did the Kendrick joint. We get some hip hop artists to come through, maybe perform, talk about the community.
That might be fire. That might be fire. I'm not gonna lie, that might be fire, bro. You know what I'm
Should I
saying?
do that? Should we do that?
I'm not gonna
Maybe
lie.
I'll put on a suit. Maybe I'll put on a suit. You know what I mean? Hey, yo, and I did take I'm on a remote location and I don't have my glasses, so I'm out of character today. So the glasses will come back,
It's all good.
My eyes do look normal. I don't have a lazy eye. I have
right.
normal eyes,
Right.
My wife said she loves my eyes, by the way. She loves
okay, as she should. Right.
But the glasses will come back. They're coming back. The shades will come back because I got glasses on, but the shades will come back anyway.
You're rocking it, man. Hey, if we want to do it, I'll put a suit on. You know what I mean? I got suits.
Election night special. That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Super
Duper was good. Super Duper was good. So let's segue to another street relevant topic. Last time we did the weekend rhyme, I said I wanted to give some good news. Little Durk was provided hurricane relief for folks in Florida that were impacted by the hurricanes. He just got the key to the city. He was talking about his conversion, his faith with Islam. And then a couple of days later, this happened. Durk has been arrested, being held for murder for hire for a plot to kill Savannah, Georgia rapper Quando Rondo in retaliation for the 2020 or 2022 death of King Von, his friend and OTF affiliate. So that's what's going on. It's not looking really good for Durk right now. And we're going to have probably a legal correspondent come on to kind of talk about the case and what's going on. But Durk's facing a sad situation, and it's kind of talking about how do you escape the streets. You know, they say you only can escape the streets, you know, a couple ways. A lot of people escape it through music, but if you're still tied into the streets, it's either two paths, either dead or in jail. You know what I mean? And I think what we're seeing now is the outcome of that situation that's been going on in Chicago and across the United States for a long time. And Durk, you know, unfortunately, you know, it is what it is, right?
Right. And it's like, yeah, that's I was, you know, I'm not happy about that information, but that's why I talked about a separation between hip hop and the streets, and is that necessary? And that's not no shot to the streets. I understand the circumstances that folks come from. I understand the cards that they were dealt. I know what it's like when your loved one or someone related to you is a victim of the streets, and now it's up to you to make the decision on to push a line or fall back. I know what that's like. So, but my thing is this in regards to hip hop, right? Because my whole thing is, you know, hip hop, I would like to see that preserved in a particular way. I don't know if the streets can be saved, or if there is something I could say to turn down the temperature in the streets. But in hip hop is supposed to be the music, right? So I think there are ways we could save that. You know what I mean? And I think the system is cracking down, or potentially could be cracking down on hip hop. So I think that there are ways to detach, or we should look for ways to detach from the streets. If you grew up in my area, in my era, you used to watch a lot of mafia movies. So you see the ending of the mafia, right? You see how that turned out bad for the mafia, right? So let's put that on hip hop, and let's that could happen, right? Like the way the mob fell in America, right? They had power, they had influence, they had political power, they had economic power, they had unionized power, they had collective power, they had influence. They worked their way into a professional class, and then it all came crashing down, right? So in hip hop, we have developed a collective power. We've collected a professional power. We've collected a level of influence. We've collected economic power. So racial power, as far as just what our culture signifies and identifies with in hip hop. But it could come crashing down if the government decides to apply pressure, right? It could come crashing down realistically, because the powers that be, they're not soft, and they're very thorough in their work. So we have to be a step ahead of that, and I think now we have to start detaching, right? Hip hop over here, the streets right here, they've always kind of been together. I think now we have to start detaching, y'all. I
Yeah,
mean, honestly,
it's gonna be a hard thing to do. And my question is
yeah,
this: is this Durk situation the beginning of the end? One for drill rap, where we start seeing this reality rap, because a lot of these, you know, rappers that came from the drill line of music, they were
yeah,
talking about the bodies they caught in their records, right? They were talking about the ops, the fallen folks. You saw a man down in Jacksonville. He got, he transitioned out. They killed him about a month or so ago.
yeah,
Then you got, the Vaughn situation. There was a video on YouTube. I think I forgot the guy, Trap Laura Ross. I think he did a video
yeah,
about King Vaughn, about being Vaughn was like the hip hop's first serial killer. And then you got this Durk situation. So it's going to be the end of the drill scene. It's going to be the end of hip hop artists talking reality. There's real reality in their raps, because now they starting to get these charges. You know what I'm saying? And maybe we should put a light on these record labels that are sponsoring this, right? Because if you're
right,
putting out music that's talking about these true things, like these things aren't even nonfiction. They naming victims in the records, right? They naming their ops in their records. People
yeah,
that actually, bodies that actually drop. how much culpability does the record label have for putting this music out, and what kind of messages is sending out to kids? How many people have died based upon, a lot of people have died because a rapper would make a record, dissing one of the ops, and then they would retaliate through killing somebody they affiliated with, killing them directly. How much culpability does the record label have? And maybe this is like a, with authorities using hip hop lyrics in their trials and these cases, in this documentation. Maybe this is the beginning of the end where we stop, consuming this as a people and saying, hey, this enough's enough. And maybe the artists saying, well, I'm not going to do that Vlad interview. I'm not going to put this in this record. Or maybe the record labels, some heat is applied to them to stop making this type, or pushing this type of music. These companies, management companies, in these labels.
Well, that's a two-part answer to that, or a two-part what I think could be an answer, right? First, I think the people in the record labels are not from the street, like that. So they're hearing it, but they're hearing the entertainment side and the money that can potentially be generated from that. So they're not looking at it as like a real thing. Like we look at certain things as real because it's real to us. We see the streets and we know that they're real. The record label, they don't live where we live. They don't communicate how we communicate, or around the people that we're around on a street level. So they don't quite see it the way that we see it. So that's one thing. Two, I also think there is some responsibility with what you say on record, right? I would never say something that was too real on record because I don't know how that works against me, right? I mean, I'm recording something, a real situation. I think that works against me in the long run. So I wouldn't do that, right? And it's just like in the street, for people that may be watching it, the guys that are talking a lot, like the guys that are always bragging about this, that, and the third. You have to separate yourself from somebody that's talking a lot about real situations, because that's not going to help you. It's only going to go bad, right? And a person talking a lot letting you know what they're on. But third, I don't think it could be done better, right? I think it's okay that we detach from the street. I'm going to talk about Tyler the Creator. He's not really a street guy. I'm going to talk about Kendrick Lamar. He's not really a street guy. I'm going to talk about Shay Noir. She's not a street female. There are ways we can go. But I think that, like, are you going to get on record and make a better delivery as far as gangster wise than 50 Cent? I don't think I've already heard the pinnacle of what a gangster could do on that side of the scale. Are you gonna make a better hustler record than Jay-Z? I don't think you are. Then Pusha T. I've heard the pinnacle of what a
Right.
hustler.
But some of the kids, Leroy, the kids, we've heard the pinnacle for our generation, but the kids, the pinnacle for these kids was, if you're young enough, maybe Chief Keef, maybe NBA Youngboy, maybe Durk, maybe Vaughn. These kids ain't listening to 50. The pinnacle to them is Durk. The pinnacle, he just did a show in Chicago the other day, and he did a video montage of all even as people that he was, had beef with, or had OTF had beef with, FBG Duck. He shouted him out, said he was like, in the crazy part about the situation, it seemed from the outside looking in, because I didn't know Durk, what I'm saying? I didn't run with that circle or have anybody affiliated with that. But it seemed like he was becoming into his own as a father. I think he has 10 children. From a spiritual perspective, I think he adopted Islam. His father came home from prison. I think he was converted over to Islam when he was in prison. And it seemed like Durk was trying to move away from the street element. You know what I'm saying? I think he got caught up trying to avenge his friend. And when the kids say he tried to slide for Vaughn and the Quando Rondo situation, and I think this one got him caught up. But that was a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, right? So it seems to me he was trying to transition to something else, and I guess it just didn't. I guess it caught up with him.
I think we all will transition to something else. And I think hip hop will eventually transition to something else. When I say let's detach from the street, there's going to be resistance to that idea until people get comfortable hearing that idea and digesting it. Then over time, hip hop will start to move away from the street. It's only a matter of time. So, because it's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable holding this thing. I have to take the street with me. Take it with you, bro. If you are the young rappers, try to take it with you. What you're gonna find is it's not sustainable. Like, did y'all watch the interview with Ti and Young Dro and the dude that they came with, and then they were about to fight, and Ti had to be like, relax, like we're in an interview. This is a place of business. Y'all seen that, right?
Yeah, I saw that, but he was laughing. Dro was saying he was going through like some rehab and had a drug addiction. A man in the back was laughing.
Yeah.
And Dro got upset.
Yeah, but y'all seen that. But what I'm saying is it's just not sustainable. Like, we as hip hop, we try to take the hip hop, take the street with us. Oh, I'm hip hop. I'm gonna take my whole hood. I'm gonna take it, it's just not sustainable for what you're trying to do. And I think in hip hop, that's what we're trying. We want to take the streets with us. And over time, we're just gonna see it's not conducive to the movement we're trying to make as a culture. Eventually, we're going to see that. So, I get the youth that are moving in a certain way, but even the youth, one day you're going to get older. You're going to be out in the street. You're going to look around and you're going to be like, this is utter foolishness. Like, that's what's going to that's what's going to go through your mind. And when that hits you, you're going to be like, damn, like all these dudes out here is just wasting with their talent, wasting their time, wasting their potential. And you're just looking at it like, damn.
Right. I mean, but you got to look at where these people come from, right? Look at where Vaughn came from. Again, I'm not trying to big up or plug anybody else, but if you got 3 hours of time, check out Trap Lord Ross's Vaughn documentary, hip hop's first serial killer. These people come from an environment of death, absence of fathers, gangsters, gang banging. It's a lot of people drop. That's what South Side Chicago, some elements of West Side Chicago fostered. So it's no accident when you living in impoverished conditions. This a lot of the older gang elements kind of got removed through prison or death. And there's no guidance for these kids. They thought their outlet was music, and their music represented that reality of killing. And it was like a damn video game, right? Like Call of Duty. It's like no consequence to the action. But I mean, it's a bad response. It's a bad response from the elders, and it's a bad response from the community. I think a lot of people fail these kids, and it's no surprise that this happened. Let me get to the super chat real quick, and I'll let you go. Mad Max says Durk has always been on a demon he was putting on the front. So Mad Max, you don't think this transition, his spiritual transition, was just a front? So go ahead, Leroy. What was you saying?
No, I mean, I wouldn't call him a demon. I know a lot of dudes that they're just young. They're in their early 20s. For me to expect for them to think how I think is a reach. I mean, I think that they're in their early. I'm not saying Durk, but a lot of guys, they're young. They just don't think like this. But as far as like, I just think that there should be a change now. You know what I mean? And y'all remember the when Wallow was on? No, not no, the guy from $1 Million a Game. What's that guy's name? Not Gilly, the other guy.
Wallow. You saw Wallow.
Wallow. So y'all remember when Wallow was interviewing young Durk, a little Durk, and he talked about how he knew the guy that killed his brother, but he decided not to retaliate, right? That's also a part of the street, but you never hear that. You never hear the story of, oh, we decided not to retaliate, because that's looked at as, oh, well, you're being weak. But that's also part of the street. How come we never hear that story, right? Oh, so I know who did such and such, but because I have children to take care of, I have things going on, I'm not gonna sacrifice myself because I have I got things going on. We never hear that side. So, I get all the sides of the argument, but I do think in due time, in order for the preservation of this culture, which I love, and I understand the circumstances that we come from. Trust me, I understand. Trust me. But I think it's in our best interest to start detaching ourselves from this carrying this street thing that we think we have to carry. I think we could put it down. You know what I mean? At this point. You know what I mean?
No doubt, no doubt. Matt Max in Super Chat says, I've been saying this since the song with Cole, that this rebrand not going to save him from the feds. I saw this coming. It is what it is. And then Jarv with the not Super Chat says, hold on, no shades, Ron. I don't have the shades, brother. I'm on a remote location. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all can see. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here.
Guy with this remote locations,
I'm on a remote location. You know what I mean?
Fire.
So I'm out here. You hear the water in the back. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here, but so I couldn't. My shades is at at my spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's all good. It's all good. But the shades will be back next week. I'm gonna pull the Tom Fords out for everybody because people have been asking me. They want to see my eyes. So I was just gonna take them off when I went to New York so we can kind of chop it up. That was gonna be my first reveal, but I'm out of my element right now. I'm out of my element. Man. But no doubt. So again, man. It's an unfortunate situation. Like I said, I don't know the brother. I don't know what his walk in life was. I don't know if he was his, I think Mad Max has some hesitation to say that it was a genuine walk, to a new path. But he's in a world of trouble right now. I mean, it's been
genuine walks. We could go into the Tyler thing, which I'm making a musical argument there, or in a journalist argument, or we can go to the Kendrick thing because Kendrick talked about his walk in artistry and life. Where you want to go with it, man?
Let's go with Kendrick. Let's chop it up. So you talk about the Bazaar article, right?
Yes.
Let's go there. Let's go there with it.
So a lot of talk had to do this week about the Kendrick article. There was also some talk about the comments from Punch, right? So with his placement of being in Harper's Bazaar or whatever, and I have seen that magazine before, just when I'm out, in Barnes and Nobles or whatever, or where airports, I've seen that magazine, so I know what they're about, and it is a female magazine. But just to make it quick, on this topic, it's just about expansion to me, right? I think an artist looks for ways to expand to a different audience. So if that magazine reaches out to me and I think that I can expand some there with their readers, I'm gonna go there. I don't think it's necessarily a shot like, oh, let me just send a sideways shot to hip hop by me going to this article. I do understand that he should sit down with hip hop platforms, stuff like that, but I think there's just sometimes you're just expanding to another audience. That's all. In my view, maybe I'm wrong, but so I think that's what he's doing there. He talked about. I was reading the article, but the thing that most people talk about is just what he had to say about Not Like Us, right? So he's saying, not like us, I'm somebody that stands on morals, values, principles. I'm somebody that is what do you say? I dive into fear-based ideologies without feeling like less of a man. And so he went from there into love and war, masculine versus feminine. But what struck out to me is fear-based ideologies and how he's not afraid to go there. And I gotta applaud him on not being afraid to go there with his records. Hey, you know what I mean? You don't have to be the biggest Kendrick fan, but if we keep it a buck, he goes into topics that we would not really talk about. The Mr. Morale, right? Mr. Morale. He's yelling and screaming his head off at his partner in that song where they're arguing. Hey, some of them arguments really go down like that. If we're gonna keep it all the way a buck, he goes there. Back in the day with Black of the Berry, Hypocrite, right? that was at a time where we're screaming all this about police murder, but we be kind of going crazy when on each other. So that was real talk. He had the song with you again. I'm gonna go here, folks. The auntie is a man now, or whatever, however the song goes, right? That people like to now his whole career is based on that one song that people focus on. They forgot everything else that had to do in his catalog to focus on that one song. I think that's a fear-based ideology because you fear people perceiving you as being a certain way. You you overcompensate by saying how much you hate this. I hate this. I hate. So
Can I
now
push back? Can I
that's
push back?
I'm almost done. I'm almost done.
Uh,
That's turned into attacks that I've heard on Kendrick Lamar that are kind of baseless. It sounds personal, right? I've heard critiques on his music that sound a little personal. So I'm confused. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, brother.
well, I think some people, when they hear records like that, there are people like Mad Max and others argue that yes, he makes good music, and yes, he has a voice in hip hop for this generation,
Right.
but they also think he may be a vehicle to disseminate messages or agendas from the dominant society or mainstream society, masking it as conscious rap. So when people critique that record, I don't think they have a hatred for anybody. They're recognizing that, hey, maybe they're using a particular artist to
You're saying maybe
further an agenda. I'm just saying maybe because I don't know if that's the case. Further agenda within our community that could be destructive or make us susceptible to bring our defenses down to accept things that are outside of our proper framework. That's the counter argument.
Hey, if that's what people think, you can think that.
Well, that people think that, and people make an argument against that, and I can see both points. I can see maybe that is his real, true life perspective, but I can also say how people have always traditionally used music and films, entertainment to push agendas within the community. Whether we just talked about it, whether it be murder culture, death and destruction via gang.
If y'all want to think that, I
so
know.
So if you could say that the record labels can profiliate drug culture and put that in the consciousness of our people, there also could be someone on the other side that can take a message and put it on our people too. So it works both ways, right?
But
so
I think in the streets we push drugs on each other too. So yeah, the label perpetuates the certain things, but when I go outside the front door, I see us selling work to us. How? So make it make sense. Make it make sense to me. We sell it to our own. So
right. And the second point I want to make is in this article, Bizarre, he talks about balancing masculine and feminine energy. And I kind of not, I'm not gonna, tell my sons this message. You know what I'm saying? I want them to embrace their masculine energy and channel their masculinity into a positive direction so they can lead their families and build their communities. I'm just out of touch. Maybe I'm just an old fogey that's just not in touch with myself, or I hate someone. I don't hate anybody, but I just don't think that is a recipe for my boys. I'm just saying I just don't think it is.
I think we were taught by somebody else who was not us what masculine is. So we took their advice like, oh, that's what masculine is. We grew up on cowboys and Indians, right? So the cowboy that was gunning down the Indians was masculine. That's what we thought as masculine.
My father and my uncles and my grandfather, that's what I saw was masculinity to me. But yes, those are the cowboy and Indian could be as well. But
that's what we thought is masculine.
You model masculinity is model this in your home. Your uncle, if your father's not in the home, your father, your grandfather, maybe it's a big brother.
If you're a masculine man, then you already know that anyway. So nothing you hear or see or encounter, nothing's gonna change that. Because you already know.
What is the message? What is the message of balancing? He says, I gotta get.
You don't know.
balancing
we
your
have to be
feminine and masculine. What does that mean? What does that
we
mean?
have to be comfortable with knowing that we don't know. We don't know why and we don't know why embracing your feminine perspective is an important jewel. We don't know
Then why
because
speak
we've
something you
never
don't
been
know?
taught. We think that we think by embracing your feminine attributes, it means you physically start to act like a female. That's what we think it
So
means.
what does it mean?
That's not what it means.
But I'm asking you, what does it mean? I don't know
It's
what
just
that means.
like Jarv was just here. Shout out to Jarv. But like what he said this on the show as well. It's just emotional intelligence, y'all. You can be a man and have a knowledge of a feminine attribute. That's emotional intelligence, right? We've been in relationships before. When you're speaking to your partner, right, and you are trying to relate to her on a certain level, or you have a daughter and you're trying to school your daughter on specific things, you are embracing a feminine energy because you're stepping into their world
But it,
to offer a message. Not only that, but you came out of the womb of a woman. So guess what, guys? You all have feminine attributes because you came out of woman's womb. It does not mean, now I know I'm not going to win here, but it does not mean starting to act like a female or starting to act homosexual. That's not what that means, y'all. And we should be past this. We should be past this. This is very basic.
but what I mean,
So, yeah,
I get
man,
it, but I think he should be able to explain it. I think you're
I
explaining it.
did.
I think you're explaining it from your perspective, what you think he's saying. But when you just throw out something in an article, it leads it to interpretation. Like, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? I don't know. I
Again,
literally don't know what that means.
I have been studying this. I have been studying this for over a decade. Not just this aspect, but duality. I've been studying two things that are really one, but opposite sides of the spectrum. So this means light, dark, good, bad, joy, pain, feminine, masculine. They're all dualities. I've been studying the law of opposites for going on 15 years. So trust me, folks, now you don't got to agree, but I know what I'm talking about. Kendrick is not saying, let's all go out here and act like females. It's not what he's saying, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Now, I get it. We've been programmed a certain way. So it sounds funny by me saying embrace the feminine attribute of yourself, but you do already. When you rock a baby to sleep, there are things that you do because of your knowledge of a feminine attribute that you incorporate into a specific task in order to get it done. It's not had nothing to do with being gay or acting like you funny
Right.
stuff. It's just knowledge. It's just
Right.
knowledge. That's all
Right.
it is.
Right. You know, I'm going to embrace my femininity tonight when I go to my bed with my wife. That's the embrace of femininity.
Right. So you know,
it's not my femininity. It's not my internal femininity, my external femininity. I'm gonna embrace that, and that's how I'm gonna embrace the femininity. I'm
we
gonna show
have to
love
embrace duality, right? We have to embrace duality. That means two things. That means when you see one thing, you have to know that there is another opposite or there is another thing. Now you see the world different because you see in twos now, the opposites of things. So when you see something bad happen, you don't always say, well, this is that. You recognize it as, well, that's the opposite of good that I'm seeing. It's not that this is so evil. This is the opposite of good. Now, men and female is not opposite like that or good or bad. But again, folks, if we're born on the planet with two different genders and there's only men and female, you think what I'm saying is wrong when you only got two options? So it's like, but again, I'm jumping to the answer without explaining the process. And I realize I do that sometime, but no, folks, I don't think that Kendrick is trying to suggest that we become like females. I strongly, I don't think that's what that is about.
Let
I
me
think
get to the super chat.
Kendrick knows where the root of most of our philosophies come from, and he's slowly bringing that out. You know what I mean?
Let me get to the super chat real quick. Mad Max in the super chat says, if we were taught that masculine is what masculine is, then we were taught what feminine is. The era black men are feminine anyway. Little Durk and Vaughn are feminine, over emotional, overly passionate. That's what street guys are.
What when you see another dude and he's like, yo, man, this dude over here, man, yo, he disrespected me, man. I'm gonna spin the block on him. Do you think that's masculine or feminine? A lot of us would say that's masculine. That's not masculine, y'all. Now I get it. In our culture, that is, but an emotional response is a feminine energy. A masculine response is well thought out. And you know what I mean? So we don't have masculine is not not an emotional response. It's a well thought out and calculated response.
You know what? You know, he might be right, and Kendrick may be onto something here, because when you say when I hear the hook, they not like us, that sounds like something a female would say. But anyway, Mad Max with the super chat says, we came out of the womb, but we also came out of our father's seed as well. And go look at the stats. Kids raised by single moms are more criminal and violent than kids raised by single dads or two parents. That's what the data says, man. That's what the data says, man. So
okay, yeah. I'm from a different era. I'm from a totally different era where men, we never had to have this conversation because men knew who they were already. So I'm from a totally different era, right? But even like pause, if I tried to explain to the people I came up with what pause is, they would be kind of confused. Like, what do you mean? So you mean to tell me, and this is no shot, I'm just showing how hyper focused we are on proving how masculine we are. If I tried to tell people that I came up with, yeah, you know, pause is like when you say something that could be misconstrued as homo, so you say pause, right? They would be like, nah, that don't make sense because nothing I'm saying is homo. They would be like, so that don't even make sense. They would be confused by the whole concept of that. You see what I'm saying? But what we come up under, the generation right up under me, that was like, pause. And every paragraph got a pause. Again, I'm not sending shots. I recognize it's a cultural thing. But I'm just saying of how hyper focused we are on projecting a certain energy when you are who you are. If you was that, you would never have to explain yourself in the first place. Like, nobody I came up with ever had to explain that they never had to tell you they was masculine because that was already obvious. They never had to explain, you know what I'm saying, that they were tough because it was already obvious.
Right. Before we segue out of this, did he talk about anything else about the album, about, you know, what's coming next from a music perspective?
Well, he did go into spirituality. It informs him on a lot of his moves. He went into his daily regiments, you know, exercise and running, you know, things of that nature. As far as something new right around the corner, no, he did not go into that. So, you know, if he got something new coming out that he's planning, I didn't see that. But, you know, I expect him to do what he does the most, and people, and again, no shots, because I know, you know, people, I may say things on his camera, be like, well, that's a shot. No shots. I'm not taking shots. But people are expecting him to just drop an album right away because of all the stuff that's going on with him, Drake, and the battle and everything like that. But again, like, Kendrick is known for being calculated, right? That's a masculine energy. A masculine energy is somebody who sits back and is calculated. They don't move off what people suggest. They don't move off what somebody says about them or what people expect. They move on their own accord. That's masculine. Feminine is you're moving based upon what other people are saying, what other people are suggesting, what other people, and then you're moving off that. You know what I mean? So there are differences between the two. I think he's gonna sit back and wait and come with something dope. Somebody mentioned Shay Noir.
Yo, so I just want to say before we go to Shay Noir, let's I'm gonna ask the question. So is and they whip, they ride, and they not like us. that sounds mad feminine. But anyway, go to Shay
No, I
Noir.
think it's about Drake. I think it's about Drake. So I mean, he said whatever he said about it, but I think when you going at Drake, a lot of dudes they not really rocking with Drake. But even with that, I gotta be honest, right? When Drake first came out, and maybe I'm tripping. If I'm tripping, y'all let me know. When Drake first came out, I heard Drake's mixtape, Comeback Season, and then fall. You know what I'm talking about. So Far Gone. I'm
Right.
like, yo, I thought Drake was pretty dope. I was like, yo, like, bro is dope, right? Dude was like, nah, man, that shit is, that shit is soft, shit is weak, that's just some girl shit. And I kept hearing that over and I'm thinking to myself, like, what what girl shit do y'all hear? I hear him talking about wanting to get girls. That's what I heard. I don't know what y'all are hearing. You know what I'm saying? So hey, that's just another thing. But
That's another thing. We're gonna
it
break
was
down
about
Drake on another show. Let's go to Shay Noir. What's
okay.
what what's I didn't get a
Shay
chance to
Noir.
listen to her album, man.
Yeah.
But what's going on with it?
I liked it, man. First of all, I'm a musical guy. I had a lot going on at the same time, so I was listening. I was multitasking while listening, right? But let's get into it. Shay Noir's new album. So apologize, Shay Noir, if I missed something here, right? But I'm gonna try to get it down. The Lotus. Let me see. Let me not mess up the title. Hold on. Let me not mess up the title because this is a dope MC. The Lotus Child. The Lotus has a particular significance to us, or we should know it. And if we don't know, we got to say we don't know. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the significance of the Lotus is, right? You look it up. But she made there's a song with a Pac interlude on here, and y'all remember when Pac was talking about the rose that grew from concrete. Beautiful analogy, right? But anyway, it starts off with Shadow Puppet. In one of her rhymes there, she says, "Can't learn the art of war until you're bloody from a battle. Can't appreciate the sun until you're studied in the shadows." That was a dope bar. What stands out to me with Shay Noir is her poetics and the deep meaning of her poetics. It's sort of Nas-esque, but I could tell she's very focused in what she's writes, very deliberate. The next song, Black Girl with Rhapsody. I've always been a Rhapsody head. I know a lot of people now, they're just getting on to Rhapsody, but the way Rhapsody is rapping on that track, she been rapping like this. This is not new. So I'm glad that people are finally coming around to Rhapsody, but she always at her core has been pure MC. That's what I've always appreciated about her, and that's what Shay Noir reminds me of, brings back. So Sister Act, she said, I don't cast my vote in a Trump Republican. I don't cast my vote in the Trump Republican. Ain't no difference with Charleston White and Uncle Ruckus. I'll let y'all do what y'all do with that. Guns and Roses.
I don't like that bar. I don't like that bar. But go ahead.
I'll let y'all do what y'all want to do with that. Can you still hear? I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all want to do with that. I but I say that because she's not afraid to put her political view out there. That's all I'm saying. So salute to that. In Guns N' Roses, which features 38 Special, he said they tried to bury me underground, but they didn't know the soil was fertile. Ugh, that was a dope bar. You know what I mean? That was a dope 38 Special. A lot of lines this year. That was a dope bar. The next song, Jody Landon. We're waiting. We're all waiting for our time to come stand in the line. But I stood so long, I held a grudge against the hands of time. That was a bar right there. So I mean, anybody that's been through a lot of real things, you know what that feels like. She has a song called Choices. That was probably my favorite record on there. It reminds me of Decisions by Ka. So if you listen to Choices, then you listen to Decisions by Ka, you see what I'm saying there with the parallel with the two songs. Um, Angels, that was her record for her brother. What I gather from the song is that her brother passed. And she's, you know, talking about her brother. So, but aside from just the subject matter and the potency of her rhymes, the musicality too as well. Like she will, the beats will have a progression. I'm going to talk about just purely music when I get to Tyler, right? But Shay Noir, the music will have a progression. It will have an instrumentation. It will have, you know, it got the R&B-esque vibes, you know, singers and stuff like that. But that's just a really beautiful way to kind of put the landing gear on a lot of bars in her songs, and I appreciate that. So, the Lotus Child, it was a dope record. And you know, I rock with it. I rock with it. So I was very pleased with that. Songs I'm gonna go back to. I'm gonna go back to Black Girl. I'm gonna go back to Guns N' Roses. I'm gonna go back to Choices. I'm gonna go back to Angels. So shout out to Shay Noir. Dope album. You know what I mean?
No doubt. No doubt. I'm gonna check her out this weekend. I might actually
Yeah.
on the ride home. I'm gonna dig into that album and then
No doubt.
have my assessment for you on the next show. We may do another show tomorrow, Leroy, because I am out in the wilderness right now, and I might have to put my kiddos to bed. So we might have to do a part 2 tomorrow because I want to take some callers. People were saying they want to get the callers, so we're gonna do that after we go through all our stuff. But let's go through Tyler the Creator, because I did hear the Noid joint. He dropped a new single called Noid, and I liked it. I'm not a big Tyler the Creator fan. I know he's got a new album called Chronocopia that's about to drop. A little outside of my element of hip hop that I like, but I do think that this record called Noid was pretty dope. What did you think?
I know I like it. You know, I like the record, and for somebody, you know, you're a Kanye West fan. I know Mike is a Pharrell fan. So in between those two worlds, right there, I think Tyler the Creator exists in between those two worlds of a Kanye and Pharrell. I think that's a great spot to be in musically, right? I mean, two, you know, sonically, those are two of our greats, right? So I do appreciate Tyler. Now, I am not an expert on Tyler's music, and I will not sit up here in front like I am. So, a lot of times, I'm gonna go back to the journalism point for just a bit. I think that a lot of people in our space kind of lash out when they are unfamiliar with an artist and their sound, what they mean, what they're doing, and their background and things like that, right? So, being that I am not an expert on Tyler's music, the only thing I have to go on is the sonics in my ear, right? That's the only thing I got to go on. I know I could tell you about, you know, Wolfgang and the Gulf and the Yonkers and the back in the day when he first came out, Odd Future. Yeah, I remember all that stuff. But there was stuff in between then and now where I wasn't listening. I'm gonna be real. I'm a little bit older than the demographic that he speaks to. But musically, what kind of music does Tyler the Creator make? Does he make rap music? I don't know. Does he make R&B music? I don't know. Does he make alternative pop or punk? Does he make, what kind of music is Tyler making? But that's the beauty in what he's doing, right? Because I think that's the highest level. I think when you are blending so many different genres in a pot, I think that's the hardest thing you can do musically, is to take a bunch of elements that are not just rap, but they are elements from I seen the exhibit. Somebody mentioned exhibit. I was gonna talk about his new song, um, part two. What is this called? Something part two. Been so long, part two. Fire song. But Tyler, musically, I'm just talking about musically, because a lot of people, well, he's a weirdo, or I'm not, whatever you want to put him in a box as being, that's fine. I'm talking about musically, right? To make all of those different sounds make sense, I think requires an extreme amount of skill, right? So I have to salute that. You know, whether I rock with his music a lot, because we have to get out of the thinking that I have to like this person to say something positive. No, you don't. You do not have to like him to say something positive, right? Get out of the bag of where you always have to be so negative about everybody you don't like, because I do think that has rubbed off on Kendrick. I don't like Kendrick, so I'm just gonna bash him every time I get. Bro, there are things that he does right. Okay, not everything he does right, but there are musical things he does right. Tyler, the creator, musically, I think is brilliant. Musically, rapping wise, I think he's cool. I like the delivery. I won't say he's like one of my favorite barsmiths or something, but again, I'm kind of ignorant to his whole catalog, right? Now I've heard everything, but what I'm talking about is what I remember. Like I can't name out specific this and that from Cherry Bomb or specifically this and that from Igor. Now, what I will say is he does talk about both worlds. If he this album, Chromacopia, whatever, it is a different take on what was on Igor from musically or from what's coming so far. So I do think he is brilliant in his artistry and what he does. You know what I mean? Now people could say, I see weirdo over, and that's cool. But again, he's a younger man than you. You are from a different era. I'm from a different era, right? Super duper. So you grew up on Scarface. I grew up on Scarface. We don't identify with what Tyler does. We don't identify with what Kendrick does. We don't identify with, because we are not from that era. But musically, though, I think it's brilliant to try to mix those genres together, because again, what kind of music does he make, y'all? Does he make what is it? Is it just rap music? Is that what you narrow his sound to? You know what I mean? I can't hear you. I can't hear you, bro. Yeah.
I was talking on mute. I said, I don't know. I know my nephew really likes his music. I think
Yeah.
he's like was just graduated from high school. So the kids kind of like Tyler. For me,
Yeah.
I kind of wasn't, I can hear some of the sonic sound good from a musical perspective, but again, I hate to use that term like everybody else. It was just weirdo music to me, man. It's kind of like,
Okay.
California Cool. Odd Future, I never really got into that movement. It just wasn't for me. You know what I'm saying? I did
Right. Of course.
I like that one song. I think one song that Earl Sweatshirt did called Chum, that kind of had like a little jazz loop. You know what I'm saying? I like the production on that joint. I thought he kind of was
Yeah.
talking about his personal situation in his life. It was kind of introspective. I like that record. I know Mike, I was in a text with Mike the other day. He said he liked some of those the Igor and some of those Tyler the Creator records. They just wasn't for me. I just thought it was kind of weird. The videos.
I get it.
I think some people, I always say people, I mean, I can't ever tell an artist they try too hard, but it's one of those things where some artists make music and make art just to be provocative and for shock value and to be,
Yep.
they make it to be seen as artistic. And there's
Right.
some artists that are like natural, like Lady Gaga, for example. Lady Gaga came on the scene, like, her shtick was cool, you know what I'm saying, for the folks that like that music. But then as she started getting advanced, it just became like she was just trying to be good and trying to be artistic. And it just seemed forced. It looked like forced artistry. It didn't seem like a natural. It didn't seem smooth like when like Prince did it, or like a Stevie Wonder did it, or a Jackie Wilson, or
I would tell you this about Lady Gaga, and I've mentioned Lady Gaga before. In the early 2000s, I had a demo deal over in the Universal building, so I was going in and out of that building trying to get something popping, right? Um, Shout out to Manny was over there at the time. So, there were a few things that were a big deal in that building. The Clips was a big deal. 50 Cent was a big deal. Justin Timberlake was a big deal, and Lady Gaga was a big deal. Now, however people like it or not, now I seen Lady Gaga, and I was blown away just by her artistry. Now, on the surface, it may seem that what she's doing is something simple or something light, but this is a trained performance arts musician. What she's doing is very calculated, and it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to do musically to pull that off, right? And what Tyler does musically is very difficult for those in the production world. And you think you're gonna make some beats that are gonna sonically sound in a way that Tyler's sound is, that's just gonna be very difficult. You know what I mean? It's just not easy. So there is a mastery of artistry that's involved there that I could tell time was put in on perfecting that craft. You know, whether people like it. That goes for Kendrick too. What he does is not easy. You know what I mean?
Oh, let me get a super chat. I just want to finalize my point real quick. But Mad Max with the super chat says, funny thing is Drake was the vulnerable female cat, got bashed for it. Now it's okay. And I only started to rock with Drake once he got more masculine. Was not a fan of Marvin's Room. Drake stays scheming Aubrey. Fire. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the backlash that Drake got in this battle, they were framing it like, you know, Drake is toxic masculinity. He's got too many girls. Like, I never heard of a diss record where he says, I hate the women you mess with, and warning women and all. I never seen a cat do nothing like that. To me, that was kind of weird and odd. Like, you know, I don't think you like women, and like you know,
okay,
I never heard a dude say he hates the women you mess with. I never heard nothing like that in all my life.
Okay, so I think it makes sense coming from Kendrick's world with the type of women he deals with. I was just talking with two women the other day, right? Both women were beautiful. So both women kind of feel the way about me. They're two women, but they're both friends. And so I have to play this very cautiously, right? So one woman is very quiet, very shy, she's not into the material stuff. The other woman, she's fly every day. She just, you know, she wants everything fly. She's the party in the room. She's the star of the room when she comes in the room. So even though they're friends, these are two different kind of women. So I think in Kendrick's mind, he would identify one woman as one way, and he would identify the other woman as another way. So that's all. You know what I mean?
But I just don't think he should have spoke. I never heard anybody diss somebody. I've never heard that before. I hate the women you mess with. This is weird. Anyway, but yo, I do want to get to exhibit, but I do want to do right by my people tonight, Leroy. So I think we might have to do a part 2. Can we do a part 2 of the show tomorrow? A double header of the weekend round? Can we do that?
You know what? Let's do it, man. Yeah,
can we do a part 2 tomorrow? Can we do it? And I get my shades, because right now I don't feel like I got my super power strength without my glasses, man. So I'm gonna have my glasses. I'm gonna be back in my element, and then we're gonna do part 2. We're gonna talk about Exhibit's album. We'll open up the phone lines tomorrow too. That way we can talk about some things. Right? We have the people call in. We'll go through Exhibit. I'll have a chance to listen to Shay Noir's album, and yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, nah, for sure. Everybody check out the Shay Noir, man. Let me know what y'all think tomorrow, man. And check out the new Exhibit records too. Let me know what y'all think. The Tyler stuff, check that out. Let me know what y'all think. So basically everything we talked about tonight, y'all come back. Let me know what we think. But again, at the beginning of the show, right, I talked about hip hop separating itself from the street. Now, am I tripping or am I not tripping in 2025? Y'all let me know. You know what I mean? There's no right or wrong answer to that. Y'all just let me know what you think. You know what I mean?
No doubt. And we'll end the show with the super chat from Mad Max. It says, LOL, Missy is naturally artistic. Busta, Luda, Redman, etc. Tyler's trying too hard. Weirdo. I'm sorry. I hated, disliked Tyler since Yonkers back in middle school. And I tried to give him a chance, but he a troll MC. You know what? I gotta agree with Mad Max. You know, Mad Max, you and I are starting to agree more and more, man. I don't know what's going on. First it was Still Here and Leroy, you know, coming together and kind of agreeing on something. I never thought I would say that. Now I'm agreeing with Mad Max. But anyway, y'all have a good night. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Make sure you get us to the 100,000 mark. We're a long way off. Shout out to everybody who tapped in with us. And yo, it's important hip hop, baby. We appreciate you, man. We'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. We'll drop the thumbnail soon. Peace.
Yes, sir. Peace, y'all. Fire.